Peace to everybody out there, man. Jama Mboka, ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean. Welcome to Peace. My name is Sean. Today I have brother Sheffrin L on the panel with me, and we're going to have a discussion about the whole Dogon situation. We're going to see if we have really any true contentions or agreements or disagreements, and you just basically have like a little brief conversation. And then wherever the contentions are, we'll get into if we need to pursue forward as far as hashing them, debating, I call it hashing out the differences and in reference to Dogon knowledge or the lack of knowledge. So before we get started, though, I do want to bring on Brother Chef, let him introduce himself and, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you coming. Brother Sheffrin, you disagree with that, is that correct? You're on mute.
My bad. Well, you said a lot. First off, about the I do believe it was something in the mythology that can lead to somebody saying that they possibly conceived or had something in their mythology that would speak of a second star, right? Or a third star, even, because it gets even deeper. But no. Right. But it was mythology. They have a thing in their religious system or their spirituality, whatever y'all call it, right? That they had a thing for twins, right? So they compared twins. They gave almost everything in nature a twin. So when I read that, I said, okay, I could see how somebody could. You dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't scientific. It wasn't talking about an invisible star that human beings just couldn't see at that time. They was comparing twins or giving twins or duality to a lot of different things that they seen in nature.
You
did. It come from observation. Yeah, man. So, I think that's the only thing that we can lend to that. But far as wise, the dwarf star, I think Girl made that up, or he imposed that on the dude Okamawali, the hunter, the blind hunter that he spent 30 days with. But that's my take on it.
All right, so you went directly to pretty much the dwarf star, aka Sirius B, and so a point of contention would be basically regarding the Sirius or the dwarf star, is that you're of the belief that Griot imposed that belief on the people versus them having some type of hold on, I'm trying to make sure that I phrase it correctly because I don't want to misrepresent any opposing position.
Mm-hmm.
So to you,
a few moments
you
later,
think that the Dogon, as it pertains to Sirius B, how I want to phrase it, you think that the claim is that they knew that they saw Sirius B?
No, hell no, they ain't see it.
Okay. Do you think that they just basically had some type of understanding of a companion star?
No, I don't think they had no understanding of a companion star. I believe that they had a myth about duality and twins in their religious or their teaching system, right? So, but it was all mythological. You know what I mean? It was a way that they explain things, given it is opposite with duality. And duality, it was like a twin, spiritual twins. So I don't think it was anything scientific or anything in the natural world that they observed that would make them deduce that it was a companion star. It was nothing far as wise. They didn't know Newtonian physics, first off. So other than them not being able to see the star, right? That would have been the obvious thing. Your eyes being able to see it. And we know they didn't have a powerful enough telescope to help their sight be able to see it. Then we can observe things without seeing it, right? But that would take complex mathematics and science, right? You have Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics can make up for what you can't see, right? You can look at things in nature and tell that there's something pulling on it or making it move a certain type of way. But you will be able to, you will have to have the science and the math to be able to calculate that. And from what we know, the Dogon at that point in time didn't possess that that mathematics. So the observation is no way they would have been able to observe that scientifically or visually.
Okay. So I'm actually trying to frame a correct question that we actually could hash out as far as Dogon's information. You have the belief that the myth led to
a few moments later.
Star, and not basically the observation of nature.
Right. Good. You perfect.
Is that cool? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna say it one more time just so I make sure that I got it right. Regarding Sirius B, all right, did the Dogon understand the companion star through observation, or was it strictly based around their mythology, which led to their teachings, which could lead to their teachings of a companion star?
Perfect.
Okay. Now, what about I'm of the belief that the Dogon understood a star system.
You're gonna have to explain that.
All right, so I'm of the belief that the Dogon understood a star system because if you look out and basically what a star system defines for anyone, the short layman's term, is a group of stars that are pretty much together, right? And there's some type of action among them. But I'm saying from observation that they can see that there was something going on in this group of stars that would equate to an actual star system. Now, let me be more specific. Let me try to just give like let me look it up for everybody. And let's see if you agree with this or not. I'm wrong site. I'm gonna go back to Wiki, but really we can go somewhere else. Let me get a better definition. We could use Wiki as a basis, but I can go somewhere else and get a better definition. So for the not star system that you will look up thinking about people being actors, for those of you who are familiar with that. And we'll get in the chat and we'll look at some of the things that y'all said in the chat. So just for the chat sake, right? A star system or a stellar system is a small number of stars that orbit each other, bound by gravitational attraction.
Right.
So, or a large group of stars bound by gravitation is generally called a star cluster or a galaxy, although broadly speaking, there are also star systems. Star systems are not to be confused with planetary systems, which include planets and similar bodies, such as comets. Yeah. Do you believe that they had some type of understanding of a star system or no?
No.
Okay. All right. So an opposing question or a debatable question would be, in the instance, then would be something like, did the Dogon have an understanding or knowledge of a star system? Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just keep it simple. All right. And so that's two. Does modern science agree with or disagree with the Dogon?
That's you asking a question?
Yeah. I'm asking. Do you think modern science agrees or disagrees with the Dogon?
Well, we would have to tease out what the Dogon actually. We would have to extrapolate what the Dogon actual belief about the star system is before I can even make that conclusion.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So what's your take on it?
I'm just based on my take on it is that I don't think modern science actually interjects
Dr. Cap.
I don't think modern science disagree with understanding of a star system. I think modern science basically, the way that modern science is defining what a star system is, you know, I just really think that it aligns with whatever the Dogon teachings is. So I'm basically saying that the nucleus of the Dogon's information is centered on basically understanding the star system.
Bruh. Dr. Cap.
Through observation.
See, yeah, that's the issue. That and the reason why it's an issue because everybody could observe a star, right? It doesn't. You don't have to be in a NASA observatory or anything else to be able to look up at the sky and see stars, right? So the white man don't control that. Any human being can look up and look at the stars. So yeah, they could see stars. Now, understanding a star system, just looking up at the sky, I don't think that you could come to the conclusion without other tools, right? And not just physical tools, but mathematical and science tools, right? So no, if they didn't reach certain levels in their math and science, I can't say that because it's magic at that point. Because you would see steps, right, that would have allowed them to be able to even understand a star system. We would have seen steps in their science, right, and then in their math, and then technology would have followed that. You know what I mean? It would have been byproducts from even being able to calculate those type of things. Yeah, I mean, their whole society would have moved forward, right? And we know this because Newton and them, the things that they discovered, far as wise their maths and different theories, it actually moved their societies forward, right? Their whole societies benefited off of it. They started to produce things off of that, right? New fields was discovered off of that, and we still use it to this day. If the Dogon would have had those abilities, my bad. If the Dogons would have had that science and that ability to know what a star system was, then it would have been a lot of things that would have followed that. That's my point.
Okay. Well, we can get into that. Mm-hmm. We can get into that. Also, let me see, man. So you're of the belief, right, that they couldn't, for instance, understanding basically how a star would orbit, right? You're saying that they wouldn't have any way of determining that type of knowledge.
No. Outside of Saturn, that's as far as, you know, for them plotting the movements of different things that they seen in the sky. I don't think their knowledge of stars. Well, you can see a lot of different stars, but they really didn't make it out of our solar system. I think the farthest they plotted was Saturn, right? And then I don't even know if they understood that Saturn, whether Saturn or the other plotted in our solar system was actually planets. You dig what I'm saying? Even the
A few moments later,
I think could elude primitive people. Yeah, but so for the most people who were in that primitive stage, you know, planets were the same as stars also. Like they had no way of determining, you dig what I'm saying, what those lights was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
okay. So what about let me see. Damn, what did I want to say? I just slipped my mind. So basically,
a few moments
you
later,
think the Dogon are full of shit?
No, I think the world was full of
shit. Okay, yeah.
I'm not gonna put that on the Dogon.
Dogon, I got you. No, I'm with you. All right. So you think the premise of the Dogon's information that has been, well, you think the premise of their information stems from Grill's influence on building with the Dogon.
Yep.
And because they didn't have the tools that modern science has today to be more specific about the certain things that they've answered questions for, that was a determining factor for them.
Right.
Okay. So with a question regarding that, because I don't give Grill credit for any information that comes off the continent, and the reason that I don't give him credit for it is the same feeling that I have about the Ikes and all of those people like that. They're looking to do something differently in a matter of the way that they influence information. However, I think that it's kind of tricky to debate the influence of Grill unless you have direct evidence of Grill inserting or projecting that. I mean, we could debate that. I just think that it gets muddy at that point. And no. But I'm looking for another question, so we could look to the chat to see if there's any difference or true differences of opinions or contentions that we have to.
All right, so this is another one of those fake scientific pro guys who are scientific literate when something that they disagree with. But when they agree with something and science debunks that bull as well, they become scientific illiterate. So this guy, Sean, represents the Bussy Bushmeat Warrior Clan. Bunch of zesty dudes. They like to say Western academics often dismiss African knowledge unless it looks European. So they're trying to claim a European bias when something is found in Africa, like a certain philosophy or theory in Africa, hypothesis originates in Africa. They're pretending like Europeans just dismiss it as hogwash. Okay, so let me say this. So as he told Chef Friend earlier, the Dogon tribe, right? they can look in the sky with their eyes, right, and observe. Okay, but that mixed with oral tradition, the Dogon tribe has folklore stories about their creation story. A whole bunch of pseudo information. So what these booty scratchers do is, like Sean, if you take Sheffrin position and say, nah, the Dogon tribe, nah, they ain't know nothing, more than what they can see and I can see. If you took that position, they'll say, oh, you got a Eurocentric perspective of Africa. Or they'll say you have a colonized mind, right? Oh no. They're trying to push this Wakanda bullshit on you. Like they're trying to sell us Africa. I was gonna name this live was unlisted. I was not even gonna make it live. But let me make it live. Okay, so what they're trying to do is sell us Africa. And they got these fake folklore stories, but they'll argue with the Hebrew Israelites and say the Bible's fictitious, all this type of stuff. The Quran is fictitious, but they would sit here and tell you about the Dogon tribe as though this ain't fictitious. So he's treating the controversial Sirius package as if it's on the same evidentiary footing as ordinary naked eye astronomy. And the fact is, it isn't. Okay, so keep in mind, what he's talking about is the Dogon tribe looking into the cosmos, to the sky with their bare eyes. Okay, that's called ordinary sky knowledge. So Sheffrin is like, yo, what that got to do with modern astrophysics? Like, you can't look at the sky and claim you know what modern astrophysicists know. So look at what naked eye astronomy can get you. Calendars, right? Lunar, solar timing, seasonal star rising, setting. This is all possible. Venus as a wandering star, constellation traditions, agricultural timing, planting cycles. You want to harvest some crop. You can look at the cosmos and figure out what to do with your naked eye. That is normal worldwide. That's not exclusive or just privy to the Dogon tribe. Okay? So no serious scholar denies Africans did that as well as the rest of human beings, the rest of humanity has done. All right? So let's not do that. But when you compare naked eye astronomy or ordinary sky knowledge to modern astrophysics, you got a problem. So, okay, so now let's look at astrophysics level claims, right? So an invisible companion star, not just there's something near Sirius, right? So this is what Sean is representing. An invisible companion star, right? Not just there's something near Sirius, but a second body you can't see with your naked eye. So the question is, how do they come to knowledge of something that they can't see with their naked eye, when all of what they believe is based on what they can see with their naked eye? One more time. All of their belief in folklore is based upon what they can see with their naked eye. Then they're claiming they can see a star, okay, that cannot be seen with your naked eye. So the obvious question is, how are they seeing this star, my guy? Every theory, every lie they believe is based on what they actually physically can see. Now, there's a star they can't see, and they're basing a belief around it. Brother, you got to explain that. And Sean is going to have a hard time representing the bushmeat warriors. Okay, so a 50-year elliptical orbit, right? Numerical period. It being tiny but extremely heavy dense, right? It being a white dwarf, a third body, Sirius C, and sometimes, some extra details. Okay. It's not Africans looked at the sky. Come on. That's not what it is, Sean. It's a pre-telescope society knew technical properties of an unseen star. You got to explain that. that requires extraordinary evidence. So in other words, you're just pretending that they're aliens, right? They got alienistic technology, advanced technology at that time. So what the dude shown who represents the Bushmeat Bussy Warriors, he talks about oral tradition can preserve observations of things people can actually observe, but Sirius B is effectively, family, not a naked eye object, and was historically difficult even with telescopes. So family, even if you grab a Galileo self-made telescope at that time, you still barely could see Sirius B. So with advanced technology at that time, family, telescopes, you still could barely make out Sirius B. But these bushmeat bussy warriors want you to believe that Africans, primitive bushmeat eating Africans, can see a star that can barely be sized, the melanin in the eye, that whole bullshit. They got to eat an alkaline diet. So oral tradition can preserve what's seen. This claim is about what wasn't seen. That's what Chef is pushing back about. What isn't seen. Okay. All right. So I'll give y'all some context. So he has to explain, how are these bushmeat eating primitive people seeing a star that cannot be seen with the naked eye and can be barely seen with a telescope? He got to explain that.
Actually deal with it, because I'm taking the positions that I'm actually taking because I think people don't give
and all of these lies and fables are to sell us Africa. Now listen, look at the hypocrisy, family. These folks will challenge you if you believe in the Bible. They'll say the Bible's fictitious. Oh no, this stuff we can't, there's no evidence. Where's the primary source? All this stuff. They'll say, no, indigenous people of America, no, you were not here and you came from Africa. No, the Aboriginal story is false, fake. And they believe something far more harder to prove. A primitive, literally hunting, gathering, pooping in the woods, you dig? Primitive, no teeth, rotten teeth, yellow eye, skinny, beer belly Africans somehow can just, with their melanated eyes, these dudes got the eyes of Cyclops from the, listen, these guys, they got X-Men powers, you dig? My man could see through the cosmos and locate a star that you can't even locate with telescopes. But they got a nerve to try to debunk indigenous people being here before Columbus and people who believe in Abrahamic faiths. But they believe in this bullshit. That's the thing. I'm trying to tell you, man, a lot of these guys, these scientific guys, when you start to pull up what they believe, is foolishness like this. Listen to this dude just fumble the ball over and over and over when he's pressed.
I don't say ancient Africa credit for certain astronomical. Damn, I said
because you're an idiot.
Astronomical.
Hey, bro, you said astrology because you're an idiot trying to play smart, my guy. You're an idiot. Nobody believes you're smart. You don't sound smart. You never say anything smart. You can't articulate smart words, bro. Nobody believes you. Only you and your cult following believes that you're smart. Okay, but look what you believe in. You believe in some mythology, some primitive, barely out of cannibalism. Africans can see stars that can't be seen with a telescope or the naked eye. This is outrageous.
And Western science, as they so say, seems to take the position that no one can't do anything without X, Y, and Z.
Okay. All right. So we both probably have the book. Where's my book at? African cultural astronomy.
Okay, so now, family, these guys who talk about how scientific literate they are, science is science, it's not race based. But you heard what he said, Western science. So now we got a different type of science. So you got to ask these booty scratchers, like, bro, when you say you're scientific literate, are you Eastern scientific literate or are you Western scientific literate? This dude said Western science as though science is split up, but most of what they cite and reference is going to be from Western science articles. Okay, so that's a straw man. The Western science denies Africans. Family, that's a straw man. Okay, the serious critique is not Africans cannot do astronomy. No Western scientist says that. The critique is the source chain for the series package is weak. You got to explain how they can see a star that can't be seen with a naked eye or telescope. Okay, so the critique is also the claims are too moderately shapen and they don't show up as stable, consistent knowledge across independent collections. So, two things can be true. Africans had basic level astronomy, naked eye astronomy, meaning that they look up in the sky and whatever a naked eye can see, it can see. Okay. So that's, they practice naked eye astronomy. Did not have Sirius B astrophysics. Both can be true. Yeah, they had naked eye astronomy and they knew nothing about a Sirius B star. It's impossible. Okay. All right. So let's go off that. Listen to this fool.
Right?
Yeah, you got the. They sent you the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, African cultural astronomy, these brothers actually do a good job at trying to tease out the things that, you know, African stargazers knew before coming in contact with other people. And I think they do a good job. And they laid out some of the myths, right, about African astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about the Dogon in there. So after reading that and then reading the Pale Fox by
Yeah,
Brooke,
I hate that book.
Huh?
I hate that book.
Yes, I mean, so you read that when you read.
You heard them. I hate that book. Family, they hate books. They hate any book that debunks their primitive African position. They hate any words. I remember talking to retarded Reggie, and he told me, I said, yeah, ethnogenesis. He said, I hate that word. Like, yo, what's up with these guys that's supposedly scientific literate, all of a sudden hating words that, or events or books that debunk their position? He didn't say that it was, garbage or pseudo. He said the book, I hate it. Why? Because it debunks the whole notion that Africans had alien technology, bro. Stop.
Astronomy, and then you read the critiques, right? And said about Grill's claim or what he put forth in the book, and it's kind of that particular thing was outlandish. I feel like he was trying to become famous, right?
Grill, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All of them white people going to Africa trying to find some different level of information that they can twist the twin and try to become famous off of it. It's their MO.
Right. So I think that will be more of an issue that we should look at and try to fight that. Is the same way, all right, because in the 1800s, let's put it on the table. In the 1800s, before Grill got there, right, it was already Europeans who was postulating that Sirius, it was something pulling on Sirius, right, that was making it have a movement that they didn't understand. And then in the 1800s, some was already postulating that it was a companion star or something else that they couldn't see that was doing that, right? Grill coming from France, you know, he had knowledge of this, right? So after World War I, when he went to Africa with all of this stuff that he had learned in his civilization. So that claim or that belief that it was before anybody had seen Sirius B, it was certain European astronomers and mathematicians who was already
predicting
on that.
Yeah,
right?
That's basically what science does, is they were already predicting.
Exactly. You dig what I'm saying? So we know that Europeans was already doing that. And how ironic that a European would actually.
Yeah, so he's making a fair point. I wish he had his thoughts gathered a little better. But yeah, so he's saying, like, bro, just give us something where these African booty scratchers had their information before Europeans start to document Sirius B, right? So right now, so basically what he's saying is Europeans on record has spotted Sirius B before an African Dogon tribe, right? So the whole thing is a lie. It's a lie. Who is surprised, by the way? Who is surprised that these guys are lying for a stink ass bushmeat dusty African tribe? Who is surprised?
Say he would go and study with these people and then say that they had that same knowledge, right? And already had postulate that. But I think it came off of their thing with the twins, right? I think he made a correlation with the twin thing and then he just ran with it, right? That seems more, you know what I mean, of what probably happened without calling him a straight liar, right? Maybe he was overzealous and with their myths and trying to connect their myths to actual science. Maybe he overstepped a little bit. That's the best I can easy. That's the best I can without saying that he was a straight liar and deceitful. I would say that he tried his best to connect certain things to the Dogon that really wasn't theirs.
You'll have a tough time trying to dispel the position that the Dogon didn't body that particular information before Grill. So you would have to go into information that would actually give validity to the Dogon 400 years prior. So that would move Grill basically move Grill out of the way. If
let's talk about that 400 year you talking about. All right, so he goes on to say African cultural astronomy repeats the Dogon Sirius claims, right? So it's internal proof. Look, a later book, a book that comes around later, not before, not during that time, a book that comes around later, repeating the story of the Dogon African booty scratchers isn't independent proof. If it ultimately traces back to the same controversy, that's called citation recycling, not verification, right? So what is the earliest independently recorded Dogon statement about Sirius B that predates modern contact and can be checked? If that doesn't exist, then this claim stays unproven. The claim stays pseudo. What is the earliest independently recorded Dogon statement about Sirius B that predates modern contact and can be checked, can be verified, proven? It does not exist, which makes the Dogon claim, pseudo. He just said there are a 400-year-old artifact statue describing the system. Stop. because that is exactly the kind of claim that needs hard documentation. This 400-year-old thing. What artifact, my guy? Where is it stored? Who dated it and how? What exactly on the artifacts encodes Sirius B, 50-year orbit, white dwarf density? Without that, it's an assertion. It's an assertion, not evidence. Old artifacts exist. That does not equate to artifacts encodes modern astrophysics. The dude is just rambling. He's babbling. He's an idiot.
Particular information before grill. So you would have to go into information that would actually give validity to the Dogon 400 years prior. So that would move grill out of that would basically move grill out of the way if information is pertained to what the Dogon specifically, and this goes back to what I've been saying for a while, is like, do we really understand what the Dogon claims are? Because if we start, we slow down and we start to really extract that, and we take Van Beek and we take Grill out, we take the critiques
a few moments
Van
later
Beek out of the equation, and then the response by Grill's daughter out of the equation, and then some other people just chirping and going back and forth. If we remove all the noise and focus primarily on who we're talking about the Dogon specifically, we have to go through, and then you would have to extract 400 years of teachings and say, who gave them this? Because we're talking, if they began, and I'm just saying, if the Europeans began, and we know this, right? We both know that the Europeans, prior to the telescope, they were making these predictions about something pulling on.
Okay, wait, let's address that. He said Europeans without the telescope were predicting. Yeah, they were predicting, but they were predicting using recorded positional astronomy, mathematical modeling, and a scientific tradition built on formal measurement. Okay, that's not the same epistemic situation as a small oral tradition with no written data set presented. It's not the same. So the skeptic's contamination point actually gets stronger here, right? So Gruol came from a world where the serious discussion already exists. So the more you emphasize Europeans already suspected it, the more you increase the likelihood of idea leakage into later retellings, family. So what's being said was well accepted academically is that the Dogon tribe got leaked information. They got leaked information. And they started to talk about it, right? But it was inside information. And they started to talk about it. And then they added to their oral traditions. And look at this primitive African booty scratcher group knew about stars. No. The fact that Europeans understood this stuff first supports the idea it was dropped off to them so they can act like they knew it as well. So some white man could write a book and make, some money showing, hey, look at this African primitive cannibalistic tribe who's seen a star that can't be seen. You dig? That's what's going on here. So it's not about, the Europeans predicted it, so Africans could predict it. No, it's how the Europeans predicted it, as I just showed you. And now you got to explain. So now we know how. We know why we know how Europeans predicted such a star. Now, please explain how Africans predicted such a star. And this is where he's going to struggle at the whole conversation. This is the Bushmeat Babble. The Bussy could do this zesty as hell. I know this guy. Dude, zesty as hell. This is the Bussy Bushmeat Babble.
Didn't know what. And for anyone that's familiar with science, especially at the level that it's at, you would know that the body of knowledge is based on those methods.
Family, this is all babble. Bro, produce your work. Show how the Africans, Europeans So basically, family, what I'm saying is Europeans would document their work, right? The early Greek philosophers and Europeans, Galileo, those guys, they would document how they came to such conclusions. You can read and follow along and then retest it. and say, yeah, this is exactly okay. Yeah, it shows this number. This dude, this bushy guy cannot do that with the Dogon tribe. He can't show any way they took notes to document how they came to conclusions. So for them, it's just they're just born with it. When we say inalienable rights, in their case, alienable rights of how just things works naturally, inherently. It's in their DNA. So next they're gonna say aliens got African descent. UFB's got African descent. Yeah, I bet you're gonna say aliens next, right?
Of predicting and then going through and testing those predictions. You may not get an answer today, but 30 years from now, you may get an answer.
Oh, stop. Hey, yo, did he just do that, family?
Vaccine.
Then you hear that? If you don't get an answer today from this stupid fool 30 years later, but he don't give y'all that courtesy. All right. When he want to debate people that is struggling to prove that they're indigenous to the country, they were here before the white man, he don't say, okay, you might not can't prove it today, but 30 years you might have that proof. He don't do that. He says you don't got it today, it doesn't exist. Okay? Anybody who so that's that. Anybody who believes something like an Abrahamic faith, like the Noah's Ark, he don't give you 30 years leniency. All right, well, you can't prove it today, but 30 years later, you might have the evidence. That's not how he operates. He operates, if you can't prove it per discussion, it doesn't exist, it's pseudo. That's how they argue. But for him, he can't prove it today, so he needs 30 years of leniency. Man, get your dusty ass back in the bus, bro.
But 30 years ago, you had people, and I'm just trying to bring it there.
It's a false equivalence. I'm not even gonna let you make that dumbass analogy. That's a false equivalence, my guy.
The number one,
I'm not even gonna let you do that.
Was an influence.
Nope.
Conversation with
no.
Was on to that.
No explaining.
It was kind of spaced out.
Get back to the topic.
I really couldn't even include him into the conversation, but we wanted to get with a song that came out. So I expect that trying to take that portion of it, the insert.
Okay, so right now he's just babbling, bro. Get back to the Dogon. Get back to Dogon. Come on.
What they believe or what was in their shit. We have to get the account from these white people, right? At this particular time in history, he the one who decided to go out amongst the Dogon and do the in-depth study on it, right? So we have to rely on him to some certain degree. So now he comes into question. His motive comes into question, right? So I think it would be hard pressed to, especially for this claim, to separate the Dogon and Grill from each other on this particular claim.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you can, if you have any knowledge of the Dogon, that's 400 years prior to Grill's work that he did on them, then yeah, that would be that. Yeah, you're a killer argument right there.
Okay. When we're looking at Africa.
Hey, yeah, right? I'm gonna just be real with y'all, man. Africans ain't do shit special ever in their entire existence. All right, I'm gonna be real with you, man. I mean, like, your feelings, I don't care about. You dig? I'm for the lineage. I stand on 10 all day long. I don't care about nobody's feelings. I don't care if you're FBA. If you're wrong, I'm a cookie. You dig? I'm not letting nobody spread misinformation to us no more. I'm not gonna let anybody defame us, disrespect us no more. Okay? So I don't care about your personal beliefs. Africans ain't do shit special in human history. All right? So let that be known. They ain't do shit. Okay? So anybody that believe Africans did something special, let me put that link in here. I'm gonna cook you on the fly. You know, whatever you think they did special, click this link. Okay. Africans ain't do, and like that's the thing, they ain't do shit special. Never did nothing unique and special. Never. All right. So all these guys and that's why they got lie. Oh, Africans did this. Oh, the Dogon tried the Sirius B star. Stop. It's foolishness, man. It's fairy tales, folklore. They ain't do shit special. That's why they're being dominated. They can't figure out nothing. You dig? So their greatest time was 10,000 years ago. So they couldn't figure out shit 10,000 years in advance. Like, stop, man. Stop.
Right. And a lot of us, we tend to look at Africa. Now, first, before I even go in that direction, you said you got you downloaded the book and you have a copy of the actual book now, right?
What, the Pale Fox?
No, African Cultural Astronomy.
Oh, yeah, we've been had that.
All right. So you got the book.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I don't know how far you've read in the book or where you went down in the book, right?
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
The bunker says something very interesting. And you made me think, like the chat, I read the chat sometimes, and like you guys really be like making me think and consider things I'd never considered before. The bunker just made me, he gave me an epiphany. I'm like, you know what? The Africans were the original delineators. They were the original delineators. They delineated once they selected, they knew who they were going to sell. Once they kidnapped, they knew who they were kidnapping. They didn't randomly blind, like, because they'll tell you, like these Pan-Africans would tell you, they didn't sell their own people. They sold the warring. So they were delineating. They were looking at another people as their self-worth wasn't equal to their own. And they felt like these guys are worthy of sale. Queen Nzinga, all those African dusty tethers, man. Yeah, man. So they are the original delineators. Them and the European. Like nobody can divide and hate each other more than Europeans and Africans, bro.
Now on page 252, which is page 250 in the PDF format, they give the accounts or the examples of what they do a good job of extracting the actual claims, but they also do a better job at of killing the alien portion of it earlier on in the totality of the book, like page 7 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so on page 252, which is page 250 in the PDF, and since you got the book, it ain't nothing to hide. They basically make this assertion. All right, like ancient people everywhere, Africans wondered at the sky and struggled to make sense of it. Let me put it on the screen for the people. Some people actually have this book that we gave to them already. And hopefully people are. Nah, I'm not convincing you of grill. I don't even like grill, Judy. I don't like grill at all. To be honest, because my initial point of contention is the language difference. That was one of the questions that I actually had, is that, you have this white man among the Dogon who are talking totally different and him making certain assertions as far as their body of knowledge, because then that would mean I would, you know what I mean? I'm not of the belief that grill provided them knowledge at all. And one of the reasons that I actually say this is because a lot of these stories, right, that come out in their oral traditions and teachings predate Europeans. The problem is, right, and if we want to be consistent here, is that the same time that Arabs are saying certain things in history, and I don't think other people have taken that into account, you also have the non-Arab African, or in this instance, you have these people in Balad al-Sudan that are saying very similar things that the Arabs are actually saying, because the Arabs are writing, but they're also providing a body of knowledge and understanding of astronomical feats. And they're yielding this information. So when we look at the Dogon, centered in Mali, which is around not too far from Timbuktu, at a time that people are dealing and dwelling in all of these particular things, we're talking like, you know, significant error. However, I just don't want to get into all of that because it becomes tricky, and I ain't trying to ambush anybody with certain information, but I'm just saying, you know. But anyway, like I was saying earlier, it says, like ancient people everywhere, Africans wondered at the sky and struggled to make sense of it. One of the greatest challenges of the African Culture Astronomy Project is being able to scientificate these knowledge of the sky possessed by Africans. One of the ways of achieving this is by making a conscious and systemic effort to bridge the gap between cultural astronomy, which most people don't fully understand in Africa, and modern astronomy by providing scientific interpretation for some rich and detailed ethnic cosmogonies. In different parts of Africa, there are hundreds of ethnic cosmogonies and mythologies that need to be studied more systematically. Now, the main objective of the projects are to unearth the body of traditional knowledge of astronomy by peoples of the different ethnic groups in Africa, and to reinterpret this body of knowledge in the light of modern astronomy. We hope that through this, we would be able to provide better insights into science behind the ancient architect, folklore, myths, religion, rituals, etc., and use it as a powerful tool for creating awareness and interest in modern astronomy and space science in general, or generally. So then it goes on to say, right, a good example of such ancient astronomy is that of the Dogon. The Dogon is one of the ethnic groups in Mali, West Africa.
You know, it's crazy that their name is literally dog. Like, they named themselves of their favorite dish, dog. Yeah, that is crazy. They love dogs so much, they named themselves after dogs. Yeah, I love, let's see, what do I love to eat? I love to eat fish. But I ain't gonna fry fish, but I ain't gonna name myself after fried fish. Whitings.
The Dogon's beliefs, supposedly thousands of years old, include some knowledge of the star Sirius 8.6 light years from the Earth. Dogon priest said that the Sirius had a companion star that was invisible to the human eye, right? That means they never saw it. They also stated that the star moved in a 50-year elliptical orbit around Sirius, that it was small and incredibly heavy, and that it rotated on its axis. All these things happen to be true. The actual orbital figure is 50.04. This is where the science coming in. It's actually 50.04 plus or minus 0.9 years. But what makes this so remarkable is that the companion star of Sirius, called Sirius B, was first photographed in 1970. While people began to suspect its existence around 1844, it was not seen through a telescope until 1862. Right? So we have this 18-year gap of information of predictions and confirmation. Now, the Dogon name for Sirius B is Potolo, consists of the word for star, Tolo, right? And Po is the smallest seed known to them. By this name, they describe the star's smallness. It is, they say, the smallest thing there is. They also claim that it is the heaviest star and white. The tribe claims that the Po is composed of a mysterious super dense metal called Sangala, which they declare is heavier than all the iron on Earth. Not until 1926 did Western science discover that this tiny star is a white dwarf, a category of a star characterized by very great density. Many artifacts were found describing the star system, including a statue that is at least 400 years old. The Dogon also describe a third star in the Sirius system called Emiya. Now they calling that Sirius C. Larger and lighter than Sirius B, this star revolves around Sirius as well. Now, around the star Emiya orbits a planet. And this is where the contention comes in, and this is what Sheffrin pretty much said earlier. Today, however, astronomers have not identified Emiya. Will our celestial observation devices one day be powerful enough for us to find this legendary star planet? Thereby adding still more mystery to the extraordinary, seemingly impossible astronomical knowledge of the Dogon. And then it gives us the editor's notes. There's gravitational evidence of a third body, but it is Jupiter sized and thus not a star. So that clears up Emiya. In addition to their knowledge of Sirius group, the Dogon mythology includes Saturn rings and Jupiter's 4 major moons. They have 4 calendars for the sun, the moon, the Sirius, and Venus, and have long known that planets orbit the sun. So when we take a look at just the assertions, right, in this text, okay, and they're going to Madupe right here in the middle, which we have him on video when somebody asks a question, right? We have him on video pretty much just kind of like brushing off whatever the question was regarding the Dogon, because he didn't want to explain it, but he spent him and other African astronomers and astrophysicists spent time among the Dogon themselves to find out a body of knowledge. It took a while for them to even obtain anything. So to my point here, right, based on what the internal, I'm calling them internal sources, right? I'm calling Grill an external source, right? Just like the Arabs, I'm calling them an external source. So our internal sources, which would bring more modern scholarship to the conversation, really doesn't take interest with a few things. So this is why I asked pretty much the questions that I actually asked. Like Sheffrin, and I'm being honest here, I don't take Grill serious. I don't take Van Beek serious. I give Grill credit for going among the Dogon and trying to learn the way. But I think that there's a serious communication effort in Grill's efforts to communicate whatever he written in the Pale Fox to divine certain things to us and the way he elaborated on some of those things. But I don't believe, I have to use the word believe, right? Because I'm hypothesizing. I have to use the word believe. So I don't believe that his initial intentions was to bestow on them, well, not really bestow, but project this whole alien thing. That's me. I think initially that wasn't his claim to fame. Maybe once he spent more time there, it may look more of a salesmanship for whatever his intentions were, or maybe we have to look at other work that he focuses on to actually extract that. But I just think initially that wasn't a thing. I think Grill got more satisfaction out of his work because he said alien, and not necessarily talked about, even though it's mentioned in there about the astronomical feats, but the naming of the stars and things of that, because the agenda became an alien agenda, and most Eurocentric people had an alien agenda. They did this with Kemet. Of course, we see this with the Dogon. If we go to South Africa, we see the influence of Eurocentric worldview regarding aliens down there as well. And they need a front man. But, you know, that's why I said it's kind of tough to, Sheffrin, I said it's kind of tough to pin that or frame the argument that way for him inserting this stuff, because the way it's written.
Yeah, so I knew that eventually we would get to this page in the book, in African cultural astronomy. Now, I take issue with this whole page right here.
Put it back on. Let me put it back on.
Yeah, putting grill aside. Now, if we just want to deal with these brothers, oh man, they just asserted a whole. They just asserted a whole claim, right? That again moves to my point. You will have to see other things in the Dogon society that will bear out this type of knowledge. It will have to. If they are weighing stars that they can't even see, right? They actually, and then postulating the type
This
of
is what he's referring to, y'all, right here.
Right. If they are weighing and they are talking about the type of metal, right, that would be produced by this star, right? That's high level shit. The dude being if you look at the Dogon state, how they live today, you can't even say they at that level now.
Why? Because they're the way that they build their homes or the way that they live, they don't have a
definitely.
for currency.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? It's going to be.
But then if you're going to make that argument, then I can use an I can use an anthropologist that would then put you against your own words because of you making that assertion that just because they live the way that they live and not more of a modern way that you perceive it to be, that you couldn't infuse your worldview on them based on the way they live, because culturally to them, that might be millionaire status to them.
Oh my God. This is the victim blaming. Oh, so these African primitive bushmeat, bussy, dirt cookie eating people, they only can see it from their vantage point, and you're going to judge them based on modern science. No, that ain't fair, man. Yeah, this is what they do, man. They appeal to emotions, man. He's appealing to emotions.
Okay. All right. So when you make
that's exactly why the other guy said, like, what are you talking about?
Be millionaire status to them.
You heard him?
Oh.
Yeah, like, what? Yo, what are you doing? So they're the victims because they're stupid? Because they didn't know what you claim they knew? Nah, dude, that just be real. And these are the same people who claim that they're experts and they research. Stop it. Bunch of losers online, bro.
Okay. All right. So when you make the assertion that they, with that type of knowledge that they possess, to possess that type of knowledge and then live the way that you live, the way that they live, is kind of ass backwards to you. But that would be you projecting your worldview from where you sit on those people. And that would be a false argument. So if you go back to, let me show you what I'm referring to, because I don't want to.
No, I see what you're saying, but I still don't have no problem with my statement.
Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. My cultural biasness, everything. Yeah, right. It's definitely there. But I still think I'm not moving away from that. Like,
okay,
just because it sounds Western or it will act like the that I'm saying that these people couldn't do something because of, I'm saying that they have all the innate ability to be able to do anything that any other human being could do. But I'm saying the science and stuff in their society doesn't bear out that they could do the things that this book is saying that they did. You see what I'm saying? Wish Sean and fell off.
My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they're both kind of bushmeat babbling. The guy who's giving the Dogon tribe the work, he's like walking on eggshells. Like, dude, just stand on your damn 10 toes, my guy. Speak with your chest. He's trying to say it where the bushmeat dude ain't offended. Like, dude, just say it, because the bushmeat guy ain't holding back. So why you holding back, bro? Just talk, man. You sound crazy. You sound very fragmented, like a double-minded person. Just talk, man. Stop worrying about if you're gonna offend the guy or not. Just talk. Speak your speak. Speak your speak. That what you say?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, Sean. I'm not backing off of what I'm saying, but it might sound a little culturally biased, and it's intended to. Because that's like saying that the when the Europeans got here, it was certain things that the Native American didn't know. Like, but it would be racist to say that they didn't have the ability to figure these things out. But
Leak Bay, thank you for the 1999 super sticker. Thank you very much.
At this point in their society, it was certain things that they didn't figure out. Like, it's just, shipbuilding. They didn't have that knowledge. They didn't reach that. It's not saying that they are inferior, but they're inferior technologically.
But they didn't have a need to build a ship. When you go and you look at all the cultural, this is what goes back to culture. They had no necessarily need for those things. Just like guns, they had no need for a gun among them. You know what I mean? They were close contact fighters. They were really good at combat fighting among themselves in the tribal wars that they displayed.
So what would be the need for the Dogon at that point in time to know or to try to figure out an invisible star and what type of metal it would? How would that help their society in any way? If we're going to go to the need of a thing, is why you strive to figure certain things out. What would be that need in their society to come up with all of that? Because I don't believe a word of that whole paragraph that you just read out of that book.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the weight, and it being started.
All right, let's sum this up so I can move to the next topic. So basically, his position is the Dogon tribe, Bussy warrior. His position is, if you doubt that the Dogon tribe had this advanced technology, this alienistic attributes, then you're projecting Western standards, right? And that is a motive attack that avoids evidence. All right. So we're not, and he's trying to, like, again, appeal to emotions, like we're hating on Africans. We're not hating on Africans. We're just judging a specific historical claim. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That's all.